for text 1 to 5. I hope you can see it. Sukadev Goswami said, O descendant of Bharata, the relatives of Aniruddha, not seeing him return, continued to lament as the 4 rainy months passed. So 4 rainy months refers to the Chaturmasya, and I really wish we could all, we have such busy lives. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we all had a Chaturmasya in our life? Meaning, because it was 4 months that the saintly people stopped traveling, stopped giving talks, stopped doing their jobs, so to speak, and just re-energized themselves. And because it coincided with, as it says here, rainy months when it would be hard to travel in India, and they just kind of stayed in one place, associated with one another, talked about life, talked about the scriptures, shared realizations, did extra bhajan or worship or chanting, and re-energized themselves. And we might not have 4 months to do that. We'd probably be out of our jobs pretty quickly. If for those of us who have jobs, or even out of the temple, they'd say, "What are you doing? You're supposed to be the pujari." "Oh, I'm taking off the next 4 months." It's Chaturmasya. But we can extract the essence of the idea of whether even if we're married with 5 kids, so we're not a renunciate like Chaturmasya is often connected with, but we can find time. It's almost I was going to say imperative to find time to rejuvenate and to do self-care, take care of ourselves, and find time to think about the goal of life and do activities that are connected directly with the goal of life. Find extra time to chant, to read, to talk, to spend time with devotee friends, etc. So I just thought I'd mention that, the 4 rainy months. After hearing from Narada the news of Aniruddha's deeds and his capture, the Vrishnis, who worshipped Lord Krishna as their personal deity, went to Sonatapura. So they were getting ready for a fight, so to speak. When Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna, with Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna in the lead, the chiefs of the Satvata clan, Pradumna, Satyaki, Gada, Shamba, Sharana, Nanda, Upananda, Bhadra, and others, converged with an army of 12 divisions and laid siege to Banasura's capital, completely surrounding the city on all sides. Banasura became filled with anger upon seeing them destroy the city's suburban gardens, ramparts, watchtowers, and gateways, and thus he went out to confront them with an army of equal size. I just wanted to see the word for suburban. Well, I guess just yeah, the Abhinir Yaya went out towards them, so the outside of the city, perhaps, or outside of the Gopuram, the the gates. So Prabhupada, or the devotee, this is Prabhupada devotee, translated as suburban, but I don't think we should get the idea of America suburbia, right? Like if you're from New York, since the Bhakti Center is there, this is not Syosset, Long Island, or something like that, or it's a bit different than our thoughts of suburbia. And now, text number 6, and I have to. I don't know if the word should be admit. By the way, there's 2 devotees waiting to be admitted into this class. I guess you made me a host, so I see all of them pop up, which is fine. My admission is that I found when I read this purport, I was saying, what am I going to talk about? Often when I'm giving class, asked to give class, it's the topic kind of jumps out, and oh yes, that's what I'm going to talk about. This one was trickier. And I think you may see why. So let's go over the purport carefully and see if we can find see if I can convey some inspiration. I was going to say find some inspiration. There's always inspiration there. But finding it is I guess my service for the next half hour or so. Okay, so text number 6. Banarte Bhagavan Rudra Sasuta par Mataya Ritaha Aruja Nandi Vrishabhyam Vritsabham Yuyudhe Rama Krishnayo. Well, Bhana Arte means for Bhana's sake. Bhagavan Rudra is Lord Shiva. And we're going to focus a little bit on this word Bhagavan. Right? Because wait a second, I thought Krishna was Bhagavan. What? Okay, we'll get to that. Sasuta means together with his son, Kartikeya, the general of the demigod's army. Pramartai, by the Pramartas, mystic sages who always attended Lord Shiva, appearing in a multitude of forms. Britaha, accompanied. Arudya means riding. Nandi, on Nandi, which is we'll see in the next word. Vrishabham, Lord Shiva's carrier, his bull. Yudhe, he fought. Rama Krishnayo, with Balaram and Krishna. Translation. Lord Shiva, accompanied by his son Kartikeya and the Pramatas, came riding on Nandi, his bull carrier, to fight Balaram and Krishna on Bhana's behalf. Now, that's enough to scratch our heads, right? We would assume that the greatest Vaishnava, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, Lord Shiva, is going to be on the same side as Krishna and Balaram. So why is he fighting on the other side? So we'll talk about these things in a minute, but just that should be the beginning of what? Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami says, so our great teachers in our disciplic line help us. Srila Sridhar Swami states that the word Bhagavan is used here to indicate that Lord Shiva is by nature all-knowing and thus well aware of Lord Krishna's greatness. Okay, so he's all-knowing, but some of us might say, again, scratch our head and say, well, isn't Lord Krishna all-knowing? And thus well aware of Lord Krishna's greatness. So, okay, there's the Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, that he's the greatest devotee, because he's aware of Krishna's greatness. Still, although Shiva knew Lord Krishna would defeat him, he joined the battle against him to demonstrate the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that could be another head scratcher, right? Like, he joined the battle to glorify Krishna. We don't think like that in the world, right? We don't think Ukraine joined the battle to glorify Russia. It's not the standard way of, the America didn't enter World War II to glorify Hitler. It's not the normal way of thinking of things. So we're getting a hint here that, and of course we get it all the time, that understanding Shastra, understanding the great, wonderful texts like the Srimad Bhagavatam, it requires a approach that isn't illogical, but it is sometimes, not always, sometimes translogical. Or rather, it's a logic on a much higher level. I was just hearing Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj, I'm trying to remember the words. He said, Drishta vritti, that he said most of the Bhagavatam is not actually in Sanskrit. It's in Drishta vritti. It's in the direct revelation. Like, for example, Vyasadeva, Lord Krishna is directly revealing especially in the 10th canto, the pastimes to Vyasadeva, who's understanding them in his heart. And it's so there's a qualification. Of course, Vyasadeva is supremely qualified. He's a Shaktivesh avatar of Krishna, and that's a whole other thing that for the unfamiliar or the it's like, what? How does that work out? Or as Ravindra Swarup Prabhu would often would would say that the regulated principles that we are asked to follow, the do nots, so to speak, they are principles of cognition, meaning that they help purify the body and the mind and the heart in order that Krishna more readily can reveal himself to us. So it's not just like, even mundane purity that we do it for. But they help us be cognizant, understand, see, realize Krishna. Okay. So more on this purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, so another great commentator in our line of teachers, says that Lord Shiva entered the battle for two reasons. First, to increase Lord Krishna's pleasure and enthusiasm. So this hints at a mindset that isn't very prevalent today, the mindset of a Kshatriya. They actually love the challenge of a battle. Very different. I grew up at the tail end of the war in Vietnam, and it was not that most people entered, were drafted, because there was a draft at that time. You were forced to enter the Army or the Navy or whatever. It was not that they joined because they just wanted to I can't wait to get out there and fight. It's so, no, the Kshatriya mentality is very difficult for us thousands of years later to fully appreciate. We can read about it, but to fully understand how a Kshatriya could be like that is so. So here, this is not a reason, again, that most people enter battle today to increase the opponent's pleasure and enthusiasm. But here, the indication is that Lord Shiva is doing this as a servant of Krishna, doing it to increase his pleasure and enthusiasm. And what's so interesting about that is that's what we're meant to do, right? We're meant to do activities to increase Lord Krishna's pleasure. And that comes at the end of the purport also, in the sense that that whole identity of being Krishna's servant and the natural identity when we're in this material world is to do things for our pleasure or extended pleasure of others, and here to do things. So it's also an indication. Our great teachers are showing us it's an indication that Shiva actually is, he sees himself as a servant of Krishna. Okay, so the second reason, and second, to demonstrate that Lord Krishna's incarnation as Krishna, although enacting human-like pastimes, is superior to all other avatars, such as Lord Ramachandra. And we could also say that in this way, Lord Shiva is fulfilling one of the main purposes, not the only purpose, but one of the main purposes of the previous 9 cantos of the Bhagavatam. Right? One of their purposes or goals is that by the time we get to the 10th canto and we see this young boy eating butter with his left hand, not even with his right hand, sometimes with left hand, right? And playing with his friends and killing demons and et cetera, that although it's human-like, Nara Lila, it's called. Nara means like human-like. That Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead, who in cantos 2, 3, and 4 are creation, universes come out of the pores of an expansion of his Mahavishnu. So he's so great, and the greatness is ultimately he's a loving person. And so Lord Shiva is helping to understand that through this, or is serving Krishna in this way, according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Okay. I may stop soon and ask if you have any questions before I go on. So think of if you have any, or comments. Doesn't that be? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti further states in this regard that Yoga Maya, Lord Krishna's internal potency, or Maya, bewildering but internal bewildering potency, bewildered Lord Shiva just as she had bewildered Lord Brahma. Now, we might scratch our heads out, whoa, wait a second, which one is it? Because the same great teacher is explaining now something, a different point that almost seems a little contradictory, almost. In support of this statement, the Acharya cites the phrase Brahma Rudradi Mohanam from the Nectar of Devotion, or the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Of course, Yogamaya's job is to make fine arrangements for the Lord's pastimes, and thus Shiva became enthusiastic to battle the Supreme Lord Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. And here I was just looking at the chat. Jamunachaya was talking about it may not be Chaturmasya, but it's 2-day Masya or whatever in Chile. Raining so much that things are closed. Hare Krishna. So let me so I was talking I mentioned briefly about the ways, the approach to Shastra, the approach to transcendental literature. It's going to be different than studying at the university and reading, books on, like I studied conflict resolution. It's first of all, the Bhagavatam is considered an incarnation of Krishna. In the 6th chapter, I believe it is, of the 1st canto, we're ending the pastimes of Narada instructing Vyasadeva. And in one of the purports, Prabhupada thanks Narada Muni for kindly appearing on the pages of the Bhagavatam. Isn't that it's very beautiful, and it's very telling that for Srila Prabhupada, he's experiencing the Bhagavatam as something that reciprocates with you. We don't, I guess in some ways we feel some reciprocation when we're reading any kind of book. We get an idea that we see on the pages, and we think about it, and we appreciate it, or we maybe don't appreciate it, but there's some exchange there. But here, we're Prabhupada's vision was that we are directly reciprocating with those great teachings and teachers in the Bhagavatam. It's to sit down and study the Bhagavatam is such a deep sadhana. Sadhana means practice, right? It's a very, very deep spiritual practice. In that same Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami, he says that there's 59 practices of bhakti, and he delineates them one after another. And then he repeats 5 of those 59 again to talk about their special significance. Sometimes called Panch Anga Bhakti. The Panch means 5, and Anga means like limbs, right? And they are, let's see if I can remember them. They are chanting Krishna's name. They are living in a holy place, or we also say that making our home a holy place, or our ashram. They are associating with devotees. They are worshiping the deity and hearing Bhagavad Shravana, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And even the one about associating with devotees is connected with hearing the Bhagavatam in association with devotees. So this is a deep spiritual practice that y'all are doing, y'all, because I'm from the south side of New York. You all are doing just by attending the Bhakti Center class every day. We're getting that deep association with the scripture. So here Aniruddha is here in this 10th canto, in this chapter. Lord Shiva is here with us. Balaram is here with us. Krishna is here with us. And for very advanced devotees, the Rag Marg is to enter into these pastimes that are explained in the Bhagavatam and corollary literature. So some thoughts before. There was one other point I wanted to make, but before I do that, do you have any thoughts, questions, comments on these points? I can't see you. I like full screen. Let me do this.
Vraj Vihari Prabhu. In the Shastra, it says that our bhajan, our service, is supposed to be ahotuki apratiyataha, unceasing, unmotivated. How does taking time off from whatever we're doing fit in here in this ahotuki apratiyataha standard? And did Srila Prabhupada take time off from preaching and sharing bhakti with others? Did he walk away from devotees to recover, recuperate, or whatever?
That's a really
Are we supposed to feel? Are we supposed to feel guilty when we take our family out of town and things like that?
totally. The whole practice of bhakti is to feel intense guilt all the time. You didn't know that? Let's see. There's different ways to answer this. First of all, we sometimes do that, right? In our organization, in our society, we go up to somebody and say, "Ananda Bihari Prabhu, what's your service?" Right? And he'll say, "Well, I organize the Bhakti Center class, and I do this and I do that." But what Rupa Goswami is saying is hearing about Krishna, chanting Krishna's name, that is service. And not only that, it's considered the highest service. Right? And Prabhupada would include sharing bhakti with others is kirtan. Right? Now, what about Prabhupada's life? Well, there's two things to say about that. First of all, if you know in Satsvarup Maharaj's Prabhupada Lilamrita, right? What is the name of the first book?
A lifetime in preparation.
A lifetime in preparation. So that gives you a little hint that he was, yeah. But then there's this beautiful pastime when he's returning from Africa, and he flies into Calcutta, and they ask for his yellow fever certificate that he had. He was inoculated for yellow fever, and Prabhupada said he didn't have it, knowing that they would put him in what's it called, quarantine. And of course, since he was Prabhupada and he was from Calcutta and was even well known by then, they put him in a nice quarantine, and he stayed there for 6 days. And on the 7th day, he told his servant, call the Calcutta temple. My yellow fever certificate is in my almirah there. Almirah is like a storage box kind of thing, piece of furniture that is like storage, if you're not familiar. And they brought it to the airport, and he just wanted a break. I mean, not just to, like, we would maybe want a break, but he try to imagine what Prabhupada's life was like. Getting up at 4 a.m, talking to people who are so new to bhakti. I mean, everyone was new to bhakti because the most the longest they could have been familiar with Bhakti by 1977 is 11 years. And of course, this might not have been 1977, and it might have, so he was always, as Ravinda Sarup Prabhu would sometimes joke, that Prabhupada was the only adult in ISKCON at the time. So, yes, so we want to find balance. Of course, we put a lot of emphasis in our society on external results, and that's good. As also Prabhupada said to Tamal Krishna Maharaj once, he said, just to make a point, he said, the goal is to just sit here in Mayapur and chant Hare Krishna. But because you can't do that, you're so passionate, I've given you all these big, big projects. Now, of course, he also gave us these big, big projects in order to spread Lord Chaitanya's message. But he was just making a point about how for our tradition is a tradition of or look at Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Before, he also did a, quote, lifetime in preparation. He chanted, I forget how many, huge numbers of japa for a year. He took a vrat, before he started the Gaudiya Math mission. So it's a balance. We want to find a balance in our lives. And that's balance is not easy, by the way. Balance is tricky. Balance, even philosophically, we want to find a balance. I was thinking of talking about that a little today also, because this purport shows so many different things. So balancing, it's in the Vedanta Sutra, the fourth verse of the Vedanta Sutra uses this word samanvaya, which means it could mean to reconcile apparently contradicting statements or finding harmony. So, Ananda Bihari, you're bringing up kind of finding harmony in our life, or you're asking, are we allowed to have harmony in our life? Are we allowed to? And we know that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that until we reach the level of bhava, a very high level, we have four needs: physical needs, emotional needs, social needs, and spiritual needs. And of course, while we put a lot of emphasis on the spiritual naturally, which is wonderful, we do want to fulfill these other needs in a way that is congruent with our bhakti, and that can be, we use the word dovetailed in our spiritual advancement. So balance in our life, and also balancing understanding that there may be seeming contradictions. My favorite one that almost I won't go find it right now, but almost made me want to leave ISKCON in 1976 or whatever, 77, was when I first read the Bhagavad Gita. I guess it was 76, and I remember, I think it's verse 28 of the first chapter, and I can't remember which is which. Someone could look it up, but in the purport, Prabhupada will talk about how Arjuna wanted to leave the battle out of a soft-heartedness, right? And in the next verse, it says, because he was in Maya. I was like, what? But now I understand, no, Prabhupada can be making one point in one purport and making a different point in another purport. And also, Ananda Bihari Prabhu, things are, instructions may be the same, but applied differently at different aspects of our life. Okay, like look at Arjuna, for example. Arjuna didn't want to fight, right? He didn't want to fight in the Battle of Kurukshetra. And Krishna's instructions encouraged him to fight, do his duty. But then fast forward, and Krishna has left this planet, and what does Arjuna do? He remembers the Bhagavad Gita, and then he decides to go to the forest. The very thing that he wasn't supposed to do at the years earlier, with the same instruction, He's remembering the same body of instruction, and he's doing exactly the opposite. Now, is that because he's in mind? No, he's applying it according to, the stage that he is in life, right? So we sometimes, at least in the earlier days of ISKCON, we would almost, expect our grihastas with small children to live their life like a renunciate, right? And no, but when, if we have small children, we may not be able to do as much service as we were used to do in the temple, for example, because our service is different. But, as someone who's 65 years old and whose child is 32, time marches on. And there's a time when we have more time to do, we're freed up when what do they say in America, when you have an empty nest, like that. So, and even, like in this purport, it seems, I wouldn't say contradictory, but hard to understand. But that is one of our services, to reconcile things, and you have to do that even in the material world, or, in the world today, like, look at some of these. Some people say the more the merrier, and other people say two is company, three is a crowd. Huh? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Better safe than sorry. So, according to time, place, and circumstance, these different little tidbits of wisdom. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, out of sight, out of mind. If at first you don't succeed, try again, or don't beat a dead horse. The pen is mightier than the sword, or actions speak louder than words. Good things come to those who wait. The early bird catches the worm. Knowledge is power. Ignorance is bliss. That's a good one. So, there's many of these. So it's also through association, through introspection, through understanding things that seem apparently hard to understand or contradictory, we can actually come to a higher level and understand them and actually increase our faith. And so part of that also is approaching devotees who have that deeper understanding and coming to that. So Ananda Vihari, what do you think about all that? That was a long answer to a short question.
It was a profound answer. Thank you very much. You just completely dismantled all the worldly wisdom that I thought I had. There's no blueprint, apparently. There's no blueprint. It's all time, place, and circumstances, association, prashadam, kirtan, guidance, humility, common sense. I remember in Srila Prabhupada's, he was approached by, he noticed there was something wrong with the preparation. Either the plate was unclean or there was no salt or something like that. And then the devotee remembered in one of Srila Prabhupada's classes that he had given, where he was explaining that everything is Krishna's mercy. The devotee said, "Oh, it's Krishna's mercy. It's Krishna's arrangement that I screwed up the preparation."
Right.
And
That puts salt in the sweet rice. Yeah.
Yeah, sweet rice. And then he said, "No, it's your stupidity."
Yeah. Yeah. So it takes some understand. I was just thinking of something as you were talking. Now it has slipped my mind. Let me see if I can get it back. You were no, let's see. Like when I'm in front of a whole class, I can
Yeah,
speak for 3 minutes.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it'll come back. Like, but it was something that I thought was important.
It will come. You can say it. We're gonna have Bhima and followed by Temple Room speak. Bhima is an empty
Okay.
nest, and he's available to do service 24 hours. Is that what you want to talk about, Bhima? Your empty nest?
Are you there, Bhima?
Yes, I am. I've got nests all over the place, barn swallows, and you know what they do? They poop on me. That's my that's my empty nest, so to speak. What Ananda Bihari said, it reminds me, and Prabhu, you can tell us where the source of this is, but I always remember it, not as an excuse, of course, which is the man in the bar pining for the temple is better than the man in the temple pining or yearning to be in the bar. And to give you a case in point, an object lesson, Ananda Bihari went to Maui, of all places, of course, before they burned it down. Went to Maui before with his family to see relatives who were devotees, and they were the types of devotees who weren't exactly going all the time to the temple type of thing. But anyways, the whole time that Ananda Bihari was down there, he was calling, saying, "I miss the association. I miss the New York so much. I miss Bhagavatam class so much." And I was paying close attention because here he was with his family. He goes, "I'm out on the beach. Now we have to go to the beach. I'm out on the beach. These people are surfing. People walking by in their swimsuits." He goes, "There's nothing. It's so dry. I just want to go hide behind a coconut tree and chant." And it was very sincere. I mean, it was almost like he was burnt immediately. And we all have these instances in our life, especially if you're a householder, where you are dragged into the association of in-laws who may or may not be favorable, and the small talk and the clock ticking, and you're just pining to somehow be either in the association of devotees or somehow absorbed in devotional service. That's the one magical mystery part of this movement, which is, though it's ineffable, it's kind of unexplainable. But even when we put ourselves, to some extent, find ourselves in a Mayic atmosphere, you can immediately feel it deep down in the marrow of your bone that you're not happy, that you're discontent, and that you'd rather be in the middle of a kirtan with your arms in the air like you just don't care. So Nanda Bihari may ask these questions as if, but we heard it straight from the horse's mouth. The guy was completely miserable when he was in so-called material heaven. Hare Krishna.
And now, Henry, you can never go to Maui again because there's no need to go there. It's just total Maya. I remember what I was going to say. There's so many things in life are subjective. In my role in my work in conflict resolution, I see people have different perspectives, and the objective reality is hard to figure out. Now we have and people sometimes will often join religious organizations, spiritual organizations, because they just want clarity. And they just want, objectiveness, and just the absolute truth, 200 proof, as Ekendra Prabhu wrote in a song. But even in Bhakti, it's totally subjective. Not totally. In the higher levels of Bhakti, it's totally subjective. Krishna enters the wrestling arena, and all the different people there see him differently, subjectively, based on their relationship with him. Kamsa sees him as death personified. The gopis see him in one way. The cowherd boys see him in a different way. And as Nanda Bihari was pointing out, so one of the, there's principles and there are details. So there are principles that are objective. Ete changsakala pungsam, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. There are 3 modes. There's not 4 modes of material nature. There's not 2 modes of material nature. There's 3 modes of material nature. Now, they do mix up a lot and have different combinations, right? And there's 4 ashrams. There's not 5. There's, 4 varnas, not 10. Although even then, you could say there's different, Prabhupada in the Chaitanya Charitamrita talks about different nuances in the varnas. And sometimes even in like there's 4 different levels of sannyasis. So my point is that when we trying to understand Shastra, trying to understand Krishna, we have to broaden our, be brahmanas, be broad-minded, and look at things dispassionately from different angles of vision. And that is the way to approach these. So we're reading a purport like this one today, And we do our best to try to understand it, not only with our logic, of course, with our logic, but also with our heart, and try to see things from understand how the acharyas are helping us understand this incredibly transcendental and wonderful literature. So there's another hand up in the temple room. I see there's only like 1 minute left, but
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me okay?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful question. And of course, by Krishna's arrangement, there was profound uh, information and wisdom that we were able to milk out of these verses. And the question about if I go to some kind of recreational activity to the countryside, is that appropriate? And of course, you answered that, what we do so that we can serve Krishna, lifetime in preparation, is also service to Krishna. If I'm resting so that I can go on with my service, that rest is devotional service. And the point about children care being somehow or other a reduction of service is not exactly the way Srila Prabhupada explains it, that there's a saying, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. That this is very important. Where would we be without Prabhupada's mother? Where would we be without the devotees who raised the parents who raised the devotees who are pushing on Lord Chaitanya's movement now? So what we do, it may seem like a vacation, or we may think, well, how can I serve Krishna under this circumstance? How can I use this travel to a distant place to reach out, to share, to encourage other people in devotional service? And this is very pleasing to Krishna. Ahaitukiya pratiyata is not something that's only attainable in a particular material situation, but actually we can serve Krishna in any, even if they hang us by our heels. We know devotees who've gone to prison or gone to abominable places, and their intention and their activity was as an offering to Krishna. We can always say, Lord, how can I serve you here? And Krishna is so wonderful that he will allow us. Anyway, speaking too long. Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna.
Hare
You already
Krishna.
gave a wonderful class explaining all these things.
Thank you so much, Prabhus. Nice to have your association. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vraj Vihari Prabhu. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada and his parents ki jai. Great. Okay, darshan time. Turn on your cameras if you can. Stand up. Stop your car, Venetia. Jai Shri Shri Radha Muralidhar, Shigar Chandra Ki Jai. All the devotees on this call, Ki Jai. Standing in front of the Lord together with other devotees is so wonderful. It's such a therapy. Getting our thoughts together, recommitting to the things that are good, right? Yeah. Anyone wants to say anything in line with Guru Sadhana Shastra? Or out of line? It's okay. It's afterglow. Jamuna Jai.
Hare Krishna. I just talk softly because I'm in the hallway. But I was just really reflecting how yesterday's class and today's class really was pointing out how we can serve and should serve Krishna everywhere and anytime. We spoke about it a little bit yesterday, and look at what Lord Shiva is just. That's why he's Mahadev. There's literally nothing he won't do. He'll make himself become a woman. He'll fight with the Lord. He'll set up all these things, and that's his greatness. That he will do anything to serve Lord Krishna, and he really is like the guidepost that even things that don't look like, we've been saying the last 2 days, that don't look like they can be service, can be service and should be service. And it's a beautiful meditation to wake up every day and think, okay, no matter what, if I'm in Maui, never been, but if I'm in Maui or freezing and chilly, what can I do today to praise Krishna and to love Krishna? So I just felt very inspired by the 2 days classes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Jamuna Jai. We are inspired by you. Bhima Prabhu?
Haribo, can you hear me?
Yeah, but it's breaking up a little bit. You have to run back to your nest. Oh yeah, we see. Produce for Krishna.
Yes, I am bringing tomorrow. So, and hopefully we'll be handing it out, pounds of it, fresh organic, wannabe devotee planted, regenerative lettuce and spinach, and romaine. Sorry, I'm breathing hard. I had to run out here.
He's entirely
Oh, hold on. Hold on.
No, it's okay. I'm joking, Bhima. I'm joking. I said you were off topic, but also on topic at the same time.
Yeah, well, anyways, Domi is opening her yoga center tomorrow at 1 o'clock, a grand opening. And
it's Krishna's yoga
hopefully
center.
I can. Yes, Krishna's Yoga Center, done under the auspices of Lord Chaitanya Nityananda and her aspiring spiritual master Radhanath Maharaj. So we hope to see everybody there. Jamuna Jaya, you know all about it. Spread the word, and if
what time is
everybody
that?
comes, I believe it's at 1 o'clock.
Okay. All right.
At 30th Avenue. Just call Adi. Adi can tell you the address. And it'll be a lovely place, a new place in Manhattan to gather for kirtan, lectures, yoga, massage, all sorts of wonderful things. And free produce. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. I got some of that produce the other day and I distributed it diligently to the people I love, and they all benefited. Okay. All right. Anyone wants to speak? Open mic moment, paid promotions, testimonies? No? Okay, then this is the home assignment. Call up the person that you love and tell them that you love them, and then report back tomorrow. Okay, Anandi, call Donald and tell him you love him. Anandi is doing wonderful service of attending class and hearing very steadily, and Donald is benefiting, even though he may not be present personally, but he's getting all the benefit from Anandi's service. Anandi, you're a big inspiration to this group. Thank you. just wanted to let you know that we love you, we see you. Yeah, we're there with you and Donald. All right. So it was nice seeing everybody. We love you. Just so you know. Come again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.